I know.
Okay, so the recordings have started, although I am going to pause the room until we're ready to start.
Got more guests here than
He'll send a text, Michael.
it started.
Well, it started, I'm trying to find my map, but it's so that I can just for that.
Progress.
Hi, folks.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Just testing because I've had some problems. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, thank you, Tom. And I can see you too.
Are you missing school already, Rob?
Hi, everyone, we're just gonna wait 1 minute while I get the,
Yeah, move over.
a mouse set up for myself.
Tom, did you say something to me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The meeting has not started yet. We're just gonna be on mute for a minute at town hall while we get the computer finished being set up.
I was just asking Rob if you were missing school already.
Can't you see the lines of tears? You keep bouncing off my cheeks every time I smile.
That you have a heavy layer of makeup on, so.
Actually, Rob, I was hoping you'd put the mask back on, but no, I'm just kidding.
My breath just corroded right through it.
Well, now are you, is the plan to be fully in?
Yeah,
With no code option?
we're supposed to go back full, no computer, other than us using it to disseminate work to students who are in the classroom.
Okay.
It's gonna be fussy, but we can at least have.
Carl, are you thinking of heading out west to help them out with the fires?
Well, actually, no. However, I have just recently dropped a son off in Colorado Springs. My 17-year-old is now out there at the Air Force Academy. So we're heading out on Labor Day weekend, but it's sort of it's different, you know.
Mhm.
That's super cool, Carl.
Yeah, it's really great for him. He's going through basic training now, so we're getting some bittersweet letters from him, and of course he's very, very close to his mom and I. So it's different, you know. It's different. It's a different house without it. He's a big personality. The only one in this house.
Yours are better than mine. I'm sorry, we're just having trouble with the mouse working. So we'll just be 1 second. Right mouse. Here's the left mouse, huh? I think you're part of the mouse. You think it's got your left-handed, so it would go to the left side.
So.
Are you working on? Yes. Yes.
So we're like, well, on the other on both sides.
It looks like we're
The
good.
levels go on both sides.
All right. Yeah. Okay, Chairman, it looks as though, you want to light on back there? Did it want the light on? Not there. You want the light on? It's just right behind her head. Yeah, if you want, you click the little button there. And better for those on the DS.
I don't know, kind of like it before.
I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Okay. So, we're all set. The mouse is working now. So
Okay.
thank you for your patience.
You want to read your first, the disclaimer?
I'll do it off the top of my head. So this meeting is being recorded. This is the Conservation Commission meeting of July 13th, 2021, regular meeting. The meeting was posted as it is being held remotely and in person through the link provided on the agenda, which was posted on the town website.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. Hello, everybody, and hello, citizens. This is what. Thank you, everybody. So we have an audience of citizens and we'll get to you very quickly. So before we do that, we have a couple of, well, 2 sets of minutes that we have to, because we didn't have a regular meeting last month. And which ones, everybody got a copy of the regular meeting, which was May 11th? Any comments on that? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I have a comment, Michael.
Please go ahead.
It's
Carl.
Carl. I think, is that the one that Chief Andrew Rubiak talked about, the fire pit? Just off of Orchard Road, I believe.
I believe it was.
Okay, and
Yes.
so I believe I was shown as absent at that meeting, and I think I helped talk. In fact, I'm in the comments, so I think I should be listed as present, although.
You were here in spirit and you spoke.
My spirit spoke.
Your spirit spoke. Okay, so we can make that correction.
It's Rob Ramsey. I have a comment also. I was pretty sure I was there as well, because when I read the minutes, I remember that conversation with regard to that fire pit. So unless you guys had another meeting like the next month and talked about it again, but I don't think so. So I'm almost positive I was there at that one as well.
Okay, we'll make that correction. Physically, I can't remember because it was over 2 months ago. Here, Catherine, you there?
Yes, because I remember that conversation. I remember it. Does it say I was there? Okay, good.
That's right. Yep, Marlo, so we'll make that correction switch. All right, anybody else have any other comments about anything that went through it, the actual minutes or the discussion?
No.
If not, right here. With the corrections that the absent line will be moved to the top.
Yeah, Joe Mazza, I move to approve the minutes as just amended.
Second, Carl Lewis.
Thank you, Carl. All in favor? And I guess you have to raise your hands on video.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Chairman, for the record, could you maybe announce who's on video that we have remotely and in present in the room so that we have it for the record, and then we won't maybe have the issue again?
Okay, thank you. Actually, let's just go through it. I'll start with myself and then we'll do like we used to do on the virtual meetings. Everybody can introduce and announce themselves. Michael DiLorenzo, Chairman.
Mary Catherine LaRose, alternate.
Carol?
Yeah, we'll start at the upper left.
Oh, okay. Carol Goldberger.
Tom Heisler, member.
Rob Ramsey,
Joe Mazza.
Carl Lewis. Oh, sorry,
Sorry,
Joe.
Carl.
I can't see. It's like not the Brady Bunch where I am, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Mazza, member.
Thank you.
Carl Lewis, member.
Okay, I see Steve Wood. That would be a staff eyes on there from Billy Browns. Thank you. Okay. All set, Maureen?
Yeah, that way we have them on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right. It's my first hybrid meeting. So the next set of minutes would have been the special meeting that we had Thursday, May 28th, which was specifically on the community garden. And if everybody has a copy of those minutes, I'd like to go through the same thing, please. And that was totally remote.
I think those are, these are tonight's meet. This is tonight's agenda, right?
Yeah, the agenda that's showing this tonight's agenda.
Yeah, that's not the minutes we're talking
Right,
about.
right. I just pulled up the agenda. Would you rather me?
You all have copies of it? And Steve, I don't know if you're still on, if you can hear, if you see the
Yep.
minutes, you can also comment if you see anything that's not correct there. Okay. Anybody have any comments on that special meeting minutes?
Joe Mazza, I move to accept the minutes for the May 28th special meeting.
What do you guys gotta jump in then? For a second.
Tom, Rob, Carl?
I wasn't at
I
that
wasn't there.
meeting,
Am I allowed
but
to second?
I was going to abstain.
I wasn't there either.
I was there.
I second it. Tom Heisler.
Oh, Tom was
Sorry.
sorry.
I didn't jump that far. Thank you, Tom. All in favor of accepting the special meeting minutes of May 28th as written?
Aye.
Signify with your hand and an eye.
Aye.
Look like unanimous. Thank you. All right, thanks. Okay, so we have a few guests here tonight. So if in any special order between yourselves, if anybody would like to let us know. Are you all here on the same subject?
I have no idea.
I think so.
I just do the whole.
Okay, well, if you can announce your name to Marlo so she can get it for the minutes and then,
Do you want me up there or just from here?
yeah, if you can get up here so that way the
Over
people
there, go to the
remote can see
podium.
you as well.
Oh, just to the podium.
That's where the camera is?
Yeah, it'll be rehearsed on the screen, but
Okay.
Thank you.
I can change the view, hopefully.
That's okay, we can see.
So I'll just read.
No. Tom, hold on one second.
Okay.
No, Tom's, I'm gonna change my view, because even though he's muted, it still shows as him being the speaker, so. But up here, in the center of our screen, you should be, you might have to move over just a little bit, if you would, from that. Oh, you're on the screen. Thank
We can
you.
see you.
Okay, ready? Hello, my name is Susan Kwasniewski and I live at 1111 Kensington Road. And I have a concern about Bicentennial Park. Recently, there have been some changes in the parking area that, like curiosity, plantings that have popped up in what's been traditionally just a grassy area. And those plants happen to match exactly to the next door neighbors. And you can't really tell anymore what's Bicentennial Park and what's the neighbor's yard. And as you keep looking further, a lot of changes have been made along the property line. And I always thought that was Bicentennial Park. So I thought it was kind of strange that it looks like there's clearing happening and perhaps trees coming down, and looks like there might be a camper and somebody living in the back area and things like that. And I'm concerned about the liability to the town to have somebody living in a trailer on what's probably town and DEP land. There's a fire pit and a wood pile and a tent, and just it kind of looks like somebody's living there.
Are you talking about the same exact area for all these things that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay, is that along Kensington Road or
That's Winesap Road.
Winesap?
Winesap.
So it's at
It's a cul-de-sac.
It's on the cul-de-sac at Winesap Road.
so it's a property line between an adjacent property owner? Okay,
Correct.
so that, Maureen, that would.
I'm
That's,
gonna
that's,
try to bring up the map of the area, just so that I can get a good sense of where, as well as in the woodies on the line. That would be helpful to him as well, I'm sure.
so it sounds like a zoning enforcement issue and we're in the midst of trying to hire a new zoning enforcement officer. But if you could pinpoint the lot for Maureen here.
Just share my screen again.
It's 246.
246 Winesap.
Correct.
So
If you're
this
looking at the
is
Cul-de-sac, if you're looking at
here,
the cul-de-sac,
This is the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
So
To
it's
the
one of
left.
these,
the one to the left.
It's that one.
That one. Okay, there's encroachment in that area.
I have.
Yeah,
Would you
right.
like to see? I just have a little something that I created if you're interested in seeing.
It would be helpful to be submitted as the zoning
Yes.
update unless the board wants to accept it here.
No,
But we can accept it.
it has
as a
to go to
zoning
you.
complaint That comes through.
And
that's
where's this
fine.
trailer?
Way in the back.
the
Rather
same
than-
property?
You can leave it with me
If you were
here,
to
however.
stand it where
this
that
is-
white thing is.
Well, can I show you what the,
You have to speak from up there though, so that we have it on the recording.
so this is the property line and this is where they've gotten to.
Okay.
And it runs all the way,
No, this is zoning enforcement.
it appears to run all the way back.
Okay.
But it
we'll
would
have
be,
to
it would
have
be
the town to check the
the
property lines, et cetera, but that would be
Just,
something we handle from the zoning office.
I could be,
And
and
how it
I could be
works.
completely wrong, but that's always where I've known the line to be. And for the 15 years I've walked almost daily to Bicentennial Park. It has never looked like it looks right now. We really cannot tell that's Bicentennial Park anymore. It looks completely like the neighbor's property. And he's put a lot of grasses and planting, and I don't understand putting tall grasses next to a no parking sign to hide it. So
That's something that the zoning department will look into, and if it's, there's encroachment, then they will act accordingly there. And then the potential issue that you mentioned in the back there, we'll also look into to see if it's complies with the zoning regulations.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for bringing it to the attention. Thank you.
And who
Maureen,
wants
do you want-
this, please?
I'm giving you I'll write down my email
Okay.
for you, and you can hand those to me. And/or
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Say it out loud. Right? You gotta put it down.
We,
gotta be on the
the
camera.
microphone,
Be on camera.
it has to do with the microphone and cameras, so thank you for,
James Norton, 36 Woodview Drive, Kensington, Connecticut. My question, Sue, and without knowing this, are these, if these are invasive grasses,
Invasive grasses?
yeah, right. What would the town conservation commission do, like bamboo on Long Island? Right, I mean, it's, people think that it's beautiful, but it's just, you can't get rid of this stuff, so,
It doesn't stay where you planted it.
no, you can't, that's correct. As we all know, what would the commission do? Is there a fine? Is there?
So again, are we talking about the same?
The same parcel, yeah, and one more question. If it is shown that this individual did actually cut down trees,
Okay,
I mean, what is the town willing to do at this point in time?
so first of all, the Conservation Commission is a advisory board, and we can set rules for open space, but we don't enforce. We have no enforcement
Okay.
mechanism here. That's why anything like that goes to the zoning enforcement department, and they would go out and check. Now, as far as invasives, you know what, I'm not sure that the town has tackled that yet actually, that probably would be a state regulation if somebody was planting something like that at this point, because that's a larger issue. As far as cutting trees, it'd have to be determined on what line it's on. If it's the property owner's trees.
No, the property owner street, there's nothing you can do about that, but if it is part of the bicentennial land,
Or any town property,
Any town property, yeah.
they shouldn't be encroaching on it and doing any encroaching, period. You're not supposed to do that.
okay, we're not supposed to do that, but, you know,
Well, then after that, Maureen, maybe you could more clearly
So
answer
we-
zoning enforcement.
as Maureen speaking, we go through several iterations, identifying the property lines, notifying the owners, depending on the situation and severity, and then whether it regrow to natural versus some replanting by the offender, or several, we have to look at the ordinance as well as our
is there a
statutes
fine?
as to what we can do.
Is there a
If it's
fine?
a zoning enforcement matter, the way zoning enforcement works, and again, these are also may fall under enforcement under an ordinance as opposed to the zoning regulations. So I'd have to look to see what those were. The straight zoning enforcement, we have to notify the owner to allow a remedy and a proposed remedy, perhaps depending on the situation, and we have all different things. So if zoning enforcement, for instance, an inoperable vehicle, then removing it within a certain time period. So we work with offenders over a time period, and in order to gain compliance. So restoration may be the case, sometimes with wetlands infractions, for instance, they have to mitigate and restore the area. And there may be fines as well, but the restoration is what the goal
The
is.
ultimate goal
Is
is to
the
get back to
goal
what it
is
was.
that it's what it was. So, so we go in varying different ways.
And so planning and zoning will take care of this.
The zoning enforcement in combination with, depending on which regulations it falls under. There's things that fall under the Parks Commission, and there's things that fall under Public Works. So we have to find out which one of us has, and myself and Public Works work very closely together to identify whether it's our department and how we go about it.
Okay, so how do we remedy how do we
So
get
if we
this ball going
start,
at this point in
we
time?
start,
I mean, let's just cut to the chase and say,
office.
okay, so
We,
if we come back next month to you and say, okay, so where do we stand with this thing? If it was right, wrong, or indifferent? Or we're gonna have, going like this, it's,
no, right now, the way a complaint starts is by filling out and providing us the information to know that there's a violation so that the town can go investigate it. So we do have, in the zoning office, we have a zoning complaint form.
it's a
That
formal document that needs
Is
to
the
be there.
document
Okay.
that gets, that puts it in the pile.
Got it.
As the chairman indicated, I'm the one-man show in the planning and zoning department right now. We are in the process of getting an additional employee. The last acting zoning officer left approximately a month ago. So we're moving forward, but we're hopping as best we can.
So Jim, so how it works, as Maureen said, maybe tomorrow, somebody would go in, and put in this formal document, complaint, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
And then at the, first available time, now somebody from the engineering department or Maureen, they have to go to the said parcel and determine the property line, if something is occurring on this side or that side.
Got it, okay.
So
Once they
engineering,
make that determination, then the formal letters and cease and desist or discussions start at that point.
Fair enough.
So it's a process.
Got it,
It
okay.
has to start with,
Well,
it started and it's been,
yeah, and this,
tomorrow.
I'm
Yeah.
considering this.
Oh, this is a
started.
formal, that- that-
Yeah, I'm considering it.
Okay.
I've
So
written it
no
down.
additional paperwork.
I'll
going into the file at
transfer
this
it,
point.
But
Okay.
I'll transfer it, I would, as the chairman indicated, we do have to send out staff to work into their work schedule, identify the property line. And that has to be done by Public Works, they're the ones that can survey
Very good, thank you.
their work. Schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. And next.
One question.
Sure.
One last question regarding, there is, and I don't know if it shows up on any of the pictures, there's a stand of wood, barks of trees or trunks of trees stacked up near the trailer. And during the drought period or when we weren't, town residents were asked not to burn anything, he was burning. I mean, repeatedly, I mean, they, or the owner of the home, let's just leave it anonymous. Is that allowed? Number one, not only on your own properties, but it encroached on my property of Bicentennial. We smelled it, we saw it, we saw the fires, many of us who go up there. Is that another ordinance violation or another commission that would have to look into that?
I think they probably would need a burn permit, but Maureen, you probably can answer this one too. And we also have somebody from the South Kensington Fire Department that's online too, so anybody wants to jump in.
So, generally burn, it does require a burn permit. I don't know what the parameters of that are. The couple of people in the office, they're through Public Works and Fire Marshal's office that issue those, have, certification to issue those permits and know the precise rules that go along with it and who requires them and who does not. You have a small fire pit in your backyard, I don't think you need a burn permit every time you light it up, but maybe you do. And their office would have to be checked with on that. Then, and as far as in the past, the complaints I've been aware of, typically, people don't do these things Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. So they go in through the police department as far as the complaint goes. But I do believe that may send out the fire department, it becomes a call, is my understanding. Again, I don't want to give misinformation, but that's my understanding of the process, that's a call through enforcement of that. The fire marshal's office may be able to answer much more technical response.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to bring that additional piece of information. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is that at that same property?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, could you just give your name first to Marlo so she
You
can?
can announce it. From there, that's all right.
My name is Peter Zaragoza. My address is 158 Elwood Road. I have two questions. One statement, one question. One is just in support of the previous commenters. Witnessed the encroachment firsthand at the cul-de-sac on Whitesap Road. I think it's even gotten to the point that even the Public Works or Grounds and Maintenance Department even kind of considers that de facto his property because everything gets mowed except that portion that Susan had pointed out. So I do think that there is a need to kind of make a move on that, even if it is just taking a line of measure and putting a distinct boundary or sign there. Secondarily, what is the Conservation Commission's feelings, or is there an ordinance or what have you on the basic foraging of berries at conservation properties? And I'll elaborate. I'll say that, the current ordinance denotes that you can't pick, cut, disturb foliage, what have you. I wouldn't imply or suggest that we should be having, open berry farms and people coming to town to pick. But I just am curious to pick the brain of the commission, I suppose.
But is there a specific issue that you're,
Carl is raising his hand as well, so
Okay.
just wanted to call that to your attention.
okay. Is there a specific issue that you are bringing to light here that
No, it's not a specific issue. It's just more,
general?
yeah, generally, does a person have the right to pick berries at a conservation property? There's some beautiful mulberry trees, some beautiful wild blackberries, so on and so forth. So I don't know if that's something the commission shames or what have you.
Commissioner Lewis, you raised your hand?
My personal opinion to the citizen and to the commission would be that we should subscribe to leave no trace principles, which would mean that if you see it, you should not touch it. You should take only pick and leave only footprints. It's unless there's a process by which, for example, this town property is being farmed or used for some purpose other than passive recreation. Then, and I know, like I used to pick apples at Chetkowski's farm, right? I get it. So if I pick a berry, but I don't think anybody should be in there picking harvesting mushrooms, for example, or picking berries or anything like that. I think it is counter to leave no trace principles. And thank you, Mr.
Peter. Thank you, Carl. So this subject really has never come up. So it's an interesting subject. We do kind of always subscribe to that leave no trace and not disturbing any flora or fauna. That's why I asked if there was a specific issue that we needed to go into. And I guess if somebody's taking a hike and they walk by a raspberry or wild blackberry or something, and they pick one, I'm not sure that's an issue, but harvesting or something, that may be something different. But Maureen, did you have something or you were pointing out, Carl? Okay.
Yeah, I was just pointing out that he had raised his hand.
Okay, thank you. So that's a good subject and maybe something that we'll, need to discuss or clarify in future. But thank you. Or if you ever come across something, let us know too. So
Thank you.
thank you. No, thanks for coming, commenting. Hi, anybody else would like to speak? We're all good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody was here basically in support of, or to point out that particular subject. Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you coming in and this is our first real meeting too. So it's nice. It's nice to see real folks.
Oh my God, it's pop-up.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. So Steve Wood, what is the one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking for something on my screen, so.
Hey, Steve?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. So before we go to the next item, staying on the subject, is this the same subject related to the email with the CFPA volunteers going out there? Is this a similar, different property or same one?
That as well, if you'd like. I think I was here talking about the wonderful water at the community garden.
No. From Jim Mahoney, there was a couple of CFPA volunteers that went out last week. I'm not sure of the date, to clear some of the trails, and they parked on Winesap.
Yep, I can talk on that if you'd like as well.
Yeah, well, we're on the subject, so that'd be great.
So about 6 or 8 weeks ago, my wife and I were out walking Bicentennial through all the open space and the passive recreation out that way. Some gentleman was clearing some trees after one of the storms, cutting it up with a chainsaw and just moving the logs off of the red and blue trail. The neighbor, I believe, who is Warren, who lives in the corner house on the right, came out screaming, yelling, swearing, saying he was going to call the police, saying that nobody has the right to clear any trees or do any work out there besides the Conservation Commission, and that person would be arrested. The guy was completely understanding. He's like, okay, I'm sorry to hear about that. The next day, or even that night, I reached out to Jim Mahoney to try to understand exactly what the process is about that, because just last week we got an email that there was a bee's nest on the bridge on the same trail, and we went out and removed that. And then followed by that was the email from Jim Mahoney where the guy was out from the Connecticut Parks Association, and the same individual came out yelling and screaming at him. So this has been multiple occasions with the same guy coming out and informing people that they can't do any type of maintenance on the trails.
Okay. And thank you. So for the record, well, at least for this one last week, and I don't know if it was the one that you and your wife were hiking 2 months ago or 6 weeks ago, but the CFPA, Connecticut Forest and Park Association, has been a very valuable partner for the town of Berlin, and in developing our trail system, maintaining our trail system, and just being, they're the best partner that, that we could have ever asked for. So there, again, I don't know what they were particularly doing last week, but I'm sure they were, if they had a chainsaw, they knew that there was some, tree falls or something that they were clearing out. And that's probably why they were going out there. I don't think there's any formal procedure because there are trail volunteers that have certain segments of the trails. And Carl, maybe you can, I know you know this subject better too. If you can expand on that.
Yeah, Michael, I am disturbed by this. As you mentioned, the Connecticut Forest and Park Association has assisted us in the development of the wonderful trail system that's out there. I personally object to somebody hijacking the whole process and saying that somehow we as the Conservation Commission need to deputize somebody to do what has been a wonderful service to the community. In fact, the CFPA has been recognized for many, many years as the premier trail maintenance and development organization in the state. So, just to go to Mr. Wood's comments, this is, it's very, very disturbing. And for me, it, intimidating a trail volunteer, somebody who's out there just trying to help the town of Berlin, this gets to me to be almost sort of threatening behavior. I don't know what to do about it. You're not going to, obviously this gentleman, whoever he is not going to be deterred by us, passing some sort of motion. But what I would like to say is that I would be supportive of a motion, and I'll make a motion that would, and let me just say that all these trail volunteers, by the way, if they're sending them in here, they've been, for example, if they've got a chainsaw and they're from CFPA, they've been trained and they're CFPA certified sawyers. Okay. They're not sending in somebody, who has no skills. And they've got identification. So what I would say is, I don't know what to do about this. You can't legislate your way out of whatever this guy's saying. And, but what I would say is I would be supportive, or even make a motion that This Conservation Commission of the town of Berlin supports CFPA's trail maintenance efforts. And that way, you know, the various volunteers who come in and provide countless hours of volunteerism to this town. They're not town residents, they're just volunteers. They come in here and they cut and maintain our trails. Can't have somebody who's mad that open space next to their house is being used. It can't threaten them. I don't know what else to say, and I'll send it back to you.
Thank you. Hey, Carl, so you know what, maybe a little education here is called for. Do you know, Carl, is it Polly who's is she our liaison or for CFPA?
I've dealt with a Claire.
Claire's at headquarters, I think, but is this Polly? Is she the one that's local, that is our local liaison?
I believe Polly, who was 78 and by the way, 78 years old last time I talked to her before the pandemic. She was coming in here and working countless hours on our trails. She's retired from our trails. So it's not Polly. I believe it's general CFPA volunteers coming in here.
So
in this
Claire
case,
came.
probably after a storm, some Sawyers came in and are probably patrolling, you know, the over 900 miles of trails that the CFPA maintains in Connecticut for the passive recreational use of all the citizens of Connecticut and beyond. So I don't think it's Polly, but I do have contacts within the CFPA, as Maureen says, Claire Kane, and the gentleman who maintains the, you know, multiple miles of trails, named Scott Gray that's on Ragged Mountain. So I can reach out. He's also one of the CFPA Sawyers. So I could reach out.
Thanks. Oh, Rob, hang on, Rob, 1 second. So Carl, could you reach out to Claire or this Scott, and maybe they've got to have a prepackaged press release already, something that we could maybe send, change it, tweak a few words and send to the citizen and say, you know, if you see, you know, trail maintenance routine, the CFPA, the premier trail maintenance, and just the same things that you mentioned here, that they're trained and, you know, they maintain over 900 miles of trails and so on and so forth. I think that'd be a nice little piece to, and maybe, you know what? Maybe people need to know about that, and I don't think maybe we haven't done a good job about that, so.
You know, and I've never been afraid to say anything. I certainly will do that, Michael, but that's not going to stop one person from,
I get it.
you know,
but it's
intimidating or
critical.
threatening people who are trying to use what we have tried to develop as open space. You know, somebody's going to come out and try to intimidate, and there should be consequences for that. I know some of our audience of citizens talked about fines or whatever. I don't know what the answer to this is, but there's one private citizen who clearly is intending to intimidate people from using Bicentennial Park. I mean, that's wrong. I'll say it's wrong. If he was here in the audience of citizens, I would say it's wrong. It's wrong. Shouldn't be happening. But I will reach out to CFP, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Rob, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. First, what you were just mentioning about, you know, some sort of a release or notification to the citizenry. You know, I could even see just a small article in the local paper just to let people know what these people do. And second, I mean, I know they're volunteers, but, you know, if they have some sort of a card that says what they are doing, and they could just take that out and say, you know, I'm here on volunteer but professional business. Because, you know, as Carl said, this guy coming out, maybe he has good intentions. I don't know, and maybe he doesn't. But if he's got good intentions and he just thinks that somebody's, you know, harvesting wood, this person shows the card, this is what I do, this is why I'm doing it, go back in your house, it's all set. I mean, I don't know, but it seems like that should be something, because these volunteers, as Carl was saying, to me, do incredible work. And that's something they should never feel uncomfortable, intimidating for volunteering to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I'm suggesting maybe if there's a possibility of getting a cease and desist order sent to that particular resident, having some some interactions with this person. I'm thinking that just a nice letter or just somebody with a card saying that they're supposed to be there is not going to be enough. I think someone needs to come down hard on this person. He is intentionally usurping land little by little. And hopefully, and I hope that the zoning person will be able to verify that, but we're pretty sure. And we've dealt with him in other circumstances, and there's no reasoning with this person. So I think if there's any possibility of somebody that's in authority getting a cease and desist that he cannot interfere, if he thinks there's something wrong in Bicentennial Park, then it should be his job to call the police or whoever and say there's this going on, but it's not his job to go out there and police Bicentennial Park, which he thinks it is.
It's a fine line, and the zoning department will investigate the zoning issues that are there, and CFPA volunteers or any other volunteers that are doing trail maintenance, they did the right thing. They packed up and left, and that's what you got to do at this point. And we'll have to, just deal with it as it happens. So, I think we got a lot to look into here. So hopefully we can get the CFPA people back. But thanks, and I'll talk to Jim Mahoney too about talking with the CFPA and getting some kind of a little press or a little article or something.
Can I just add something really quick to that?
Sure. Yes, Steve.
The new person that is taking care of the trails that is replacing Polly is a gentleman named Tyler Tulloch. Tyler Tulloch. He is the new contact person. He's out there maintaining the trails. Jim Mahoney has been in contact with Corporation Counsel Anna Roche on developing a letter to send to the resident to understand who is allowed to maintain what on the property. And I'm sure once that ladder is drafted, we could probably get it off to the Conservation Commission. But Jim Mahoney would know a lot more about it than I would.
Thank you, Steve. That's just what we were thinking. Okay.
I'm thinking they were saving me.
No, you still
I
got-
missed that little bit of that loop, so I appreciate that from Woody and
Yeah.
Arosh and Jim.
I think you still have to go.
I got copied on the
Yeah, I
the
saw
one, but I don't think I was copied on the ladder, so thank you. for
Thank
that
you.
Additional information.
Hey, so before we get into the new business, and I don't want to keep Steve on the line either because he works all day too. Steve, we're going to jump ahead. You want to just, you're going to fill us in on garden activities and wells and water barrels and all kinds of good things and stands?
Yep. So the guys did an absolutely wonderful job hooking up the new solar pump out there. We were very nervous for a couple of days because it seemed like no matter what we did, we couldn't get it to work properly. And what happened was we didn't have them in a series. We didn't connect A, B, and C. It was connecting and it was only drawing 20 amps. But once we figured it out, we've got the 60 amps coming off of the 3 panels,
Series.
which is pumping somewhere around, I think we figured it was right around 6 gallons a minute. We
Really?
made new rain barrel stands and put them out there. At the time that we were out there, we didn't see a reason with the amount of water that was being produced by the 2 batteries that were hooked up and by the solar panels to have additional rain barrels. So we didn't purchase rain barrels in the fiscal year 2021 budget, but my suggestion would be tonight is maybe look into getting the 2 extra batteries. So on the cloudy days or when the sun isn't at its optimal position, that we can actually still provide adequate water for the gardeners. The 2 batteries that are dear do a good job, but I think the 4 batteries and only spending $200 is a better investment than spending $400.
So the 2 batteries would not be standby, they would be in series with the other 2? So is that what you're saying?
Yep, so there'd be 48 volts drawing, which is pretty much the same as we're getting out of the solar panel. So like today, if it was a cloudy day and a gardener went out there and he wanted to fill all, or he or she wanted to fill all of the rain barrels, she'd walk over, flip it on, she could fill all the rain barrels while she was taking care of her own plot. And it would just fill it faster and we'd still be able to get adequate water to all the gardeners.
Sounds like a winning plan. It doesn't sound like the rain barrels are needed anymore. Can you give us a visual or, I mean, I saw the water flow out there beforehand with the old pump. So is it, you say it's 6 gallons per hour now or per minute?
It's 6 gallons per minute. We think once we revamp and add the additional panel, probably next year it'll be around 8 gallons a minute. And at that time, we'll dial it down to probably right around 5. So we're not running the motor at full speed all the time.
And what was it before with the old?
1.3.
1.3?
Yep.
And it reaches all the way to that far side there when we were walking there with the farthest up plot?
Yep, you can connect as many hoses as you want, water any plot, no matter where it is, fill any rain barrel that is out there. And as of right now, we have not found any deficiency with it. Except if the sun isn't over the trees yet, it doesn't work that good.
Hey, understood. And obviously when the sun wasn't shining this last week, but it was raining, so they don't need it.
Yep.
That's great. And you can dial it back, like you said, so when it's in dry times or just, you don't want it to be overused.
Exactly. Yeah, we would like to keep it right around the 5 gallons a minute, and we'd like to turn the motor down to like 3/4 speed, so it's not always at full blast.
Good. And you miss going out there and replacing the impellers or the
I miss getting screamed at on a daily basis.
yeah, that I'm sure.
So yeah, I think $250 to Napa would cover the 2 additional batteries needed. We would still service them. We'd bring them in for the winter and secure them so that nothing happened to them.
So Maureen, we were gonna use the garden fund money because we had enough balance in there. We were gonna buy a couple of rain barrels, which we didn't do. So
Right.
so how do we have to? So we need to.
So
have a
you
motion.
can do one of 2 things. You can either decide that the monies that were allocated towards rain barrels, you'd like to, withdraw that, or rather reverse that motion by saying you no longer authorize that person first just as it wasn't done. Or you can allocate additional funds from the garden account. There's a couple of thousand still in that garden account. 200 is not very much out of there, and make it, an allocation for that. So I suggest either one. It really doesn't make any difference as far as that goes, but you should add it to the agenda as an item and then have somebody make a motion of your pleasure.
Well, it's be under new business when there were old business, really. It's
Well, I guess you're adding the purchase of an item and then.
so we just need somebody has to be. So I think it'd be appropriate that if somebody can make a two pronged motion, if you will, that to withdraw the original rain barrel purchase because it's not required, and then reallocate. Did you say $250, Steve?
I think that'll be enough. I think it's going to come in at like 180, but I just want to make sure.
Approximately, okay. Approximately $250 for the additional purchase of 2 batteries as recommended. I'm looking at you guys.
I'll make a motion, Rob Ramsey.
Swears. Dating myself.
Second.
Wait, somebody want to word it a little better than mine? Rob?
I thought your words were beautiful.
Second.
Made a motion to withdraw the rain barrel purchase and add a purchase of $250 for 2 extra batteries for the solar pump. First is even better.
That sounds right, Steve? That's what you need, right?
Thank you. Thumbs up there. All right, all in favor of the motion as verbalized?
Aye.
All right. So moved. Thank you.
And we just note for the record that everyone motioned that their acceptance with raised hand
Unanimous. Yes.
unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, well, I want to say once again for the record, you and your crew have been great to us and to the gardeners especially, and probably made a lot of people happy this summer. And hopefully it takes a lot of the burden off of you guys that you were as you said, repeatedly over there and replacing parts. So thank you for doing that, and it's a great thing, solar pump, and that's what we needed.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for the challenge. We really appreciated it on our end.
Alan. We'll see if we can come up with another one to throw your way too. So
Appreciate it. We love anything out of the norm. Hey, have a good night, everybody. Take care. And I'll get a video over as soon as we get both of them up and running.
hold on, Steve. Maureen, do you need him?
Well, I just wanted to add that I think, and I want the rest of the commission to hear how above and beyond him and his crew did go. They were out there repeatedly. I want to reiterate that. I know he said that, but I wanted to, from our standpoint too, we're getting less calls in our office as well, less emails. We're coming in rather regularly, to say the least, and weren't necessarily short. So they just went above and beyond and worked tirelessly. There were a couple of days they spent hours and hours out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, crew, too. It was great.
I sure will. Thank you again. Have a great night, everybody.
You too. Well, that's
Thanks. I just wanted that on the record.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's great that that whole concept is working. So nobody needs water anymore. But
And the amount of work and research that went into to find it and implement it.
yeah,
Because it is this specialty company that makes this, and they found it along with Bill Jackson.
1 gallon to 6 gallons a minute. Or something.
And as an aside, Woody also made a tutorial video for the gardeners, and that the garden coordinator shared with the rest of the gardeners in email, so that they could see how we're having a meeting, so that they could actually see what you turn on, what you don't, what not to push, what to push, and how to do it. So it was, really cool.
That is-
Amazing what COVID has done for our technology. And everyone's understanding of it, because now we all know how to watch YouTube videos.
Well, it's a good thing because I know they were over there, a couple times a week to replacing
Yes.
the little impeller or whatever that kept breaking. All right, thank you. All right, so on to the new business, Maureen, if you can give us a synopsis for each of these, and if we really need to look into it at all.
So I think there's a couple that you probably don't need to look at. One particularly, the truck bar. It's a special permit application for one of the existing locations within Webster Square Plaza. Obviously an entirely built out plaza, but officially,
Okay,
you guys telling us no comment or not, the truck bar will be a amusement type restaurant, multifaceted facility. They had a similar application came in a few years ago for a different entity to open a similar business, and that'll be on the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda this coming week.
so that's
Or
the
this
name of
week.
it, the truck bar?
That's what they're calling it, the
Okay,
truck
it's not
bar.
a truck, that's part of, okay.
No, it's the truck bar in what was, I think, well, if you're facing the plaza and you have the area that's empty, where the building was taken down, it's to the left where Ocean State had been, and off to that side. They, I believe, may be using part of the patio as well. The original was going to, although this looks as though it's mostly indoors, and they are hoping for some outdoor seating as well.
Is it the
Really?
same people? They've just restructured it, or is it?
Not that I know of, it's different people.
Because I remember when that first one came up, it sounded so interesting.
Yeah, and they were
And they just-
approved, but they,
Went away.
it didn't come to fruition.
All right, thank you.
So that's that one.
Old Brickyard.
So, I'm gathering the responses, no comment on that? Okay, Old Brickyard, won't be on this commission meeting, but it, not intended to be on this commission meeting for planning and zoning, but it will likely be on before your next meeting. Kokomo Brothers built they own the 3+ acre parcel that's on the right-hand side of the road as you approach the cul-de-sac, all on the right. They built a new industrial building And a portion of at the beginning of that area, just past where Ocean Star is, I think it's called, just past the railroad tracks. There's next to that, two-family house that was non-conforming two-family that's being, as part of that approval, being converted to a single caretaker's unit and offices. And then they've taken down another non-conforming building, and at the very end is Grady's Garage. What was Grady's Garage years ago, it was a repair facility for restoration of vehicles and an office. This application now is for phase 2 of the plan. Phase 1 was the first that big industrial building that just went up. And now phase 2 and 3 are to raise the other two-family in the center of the site and build 2 new industrial buildings. So I had trouble with
But it's an existing industrial area.
it's an
Anyway,
existing
yeah,
industrial
for now.
area in the PI zone.
Yeah.
And I have the plans and I'll try to bring up what I've seen as well.
Carl, go ahead.
Will there be a whole lot of increase in impervious surface with this plan? And I'm sorry, I did not get to look at the plan. I'm sorry if I missed that.
That's all right. I'm not sure with the loss of Adam as our zoning officer, we have less scanning and following up with applicants to get their digital copies. So I'm gonna try to bring up what I have on the screen, but I opened the plan right now. Yes, there is quite a bit more impervious surface because there was a lot of grass around the two non-conforming two-family houses that were there. There was quite a bit of grass.
And that must drain right into, if I'm thinking of where it is correctly, that must drain right into that Brickyard Pond. I forget if it's
You guys can
Merwin
see,
or
'cause I
Donnelly
can't
Pond, but.
see.
Yeah,
Anyone see that?
but don't
No, I'm
forget, this has
sharing my
been zoned
screen. Nobody can
industrial
see any.
forever anyway.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, I mean, it's in the peat swamp, right? So I'm just putting it
Yeah,
out
it's
there.
gonna go right into the pond, you're right.
Probably can't see much of it. I don't know whether I can get close enough to get a good look. Can you see the board, guys? Probably not. If I had more hands.
Actually,
I'd throw it
it's
up on-
actually helpful because I know where it is. I'm not sure it would be helpful to anybody who didn't, but yeah, I mean, so that would be, I'm trying to channel our vice chairman right now and just talk about impervious surface and wetlands, and I'm going to leave it there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, for the record, the wetlands, engineering and wetlands also were routed this for review. I haven't looked back at their comments yet as we've postponed this on the agenda for Planning and Zoning Commission. So I'm sure any impacts that fall within their purview and their analysis of the drainage will be happening as well. I'm gonna walk away now if everybody's done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
And now let's do it for you guys. And so
Yeah, I'm familiar with the area.
yeah, this new building, their hope is to build building 2 furthest to the west. And then building 3, take down the existing house that's there and this house or this office with building 3.
It's gonna happen. Thank you.
It was preliminary. The applicant has represented that it was preliminary looked at when the property was, the phase 1 building came in. That Planning and Zoning Commission looked at the overall concept plan at that time. I wasn't doing the plan reviews at that time, so I do have to research back that record to see the comments that were made and whether there was a drainage analysis for the second and third phase at that time.
So Carl, did you want to say something for the record on your concern about the impervious surface or the drainage?
Michael, I would say that, I mean, any, I get it. It's industrial zone. It has been forever. It's in a place where they dug up bricks for 50 to 100 years. So, I mean, it's not exactly like a pristine area. I'm just saying, if you put more pavement, you're going to have more runoff into the wetlands. And I probably don't. I just wanted to, I wouldn't be able to phrase it in the term of a comment that I think would be intelligent, but that's what we always look at, right? And that's a sensitive area. I mean, people go fishing there even though it's illegal.
No, I mean, you're right. It's something that we're always concerned about, but, thank you. You're right. If Mr. Hoffman was here, he would be concerned too. Thank you.
Noted those comments,
Thanks.
as I'm sure our secretary has as well. But, I'll incorporate them into the staff comments for the Planning and Zoning Commission report.
Thank you. Eversource Training Yard.
Okay, Eversource Training Yard, I just scanned this, so.
Haven't we seen this before or talked about this?
Yes, so the Eversource Training Yard, a couple of years ago, they, several years ago, they, look, I did have the truck bar, sorry about that. Don't look at that, I had it online, guys. There we go. There's the brickyard. Old brickyard plan. I didn't think I had gotten to scan this one, but I did. Did it? Eversource has built a training yard a number of years ago up off the Deming Road entrance as their back entrance. A lot of people refer to it as, and now they're looking to expand that for additional training facility and electrical. How they worded it. Eversource training facility. Expansions of the existing training yard, including electrical training equipment, 3 structures on concrete pads, gravel drives, fencing, and associated stormwater improvements. They do have an underground stormwater system that they are tying into and are expanding. Again, still under review for the details of their plan. This is the area, like I said, it's up along that driveway. This is the property line to the east. The east side of it, up in this area, is where new workforce housing will be going in, Deming Road. New metro project that was approved. They have not yet started. It will include some concrete pads, some gravel, drives through, and some structures being installed, which is similar to what they have on the other, in the original training area, because what they do is they train for repairs and what they have to, their crews. This is the soil erosion and sediment control plan showing an erosion blanket all around the area during disturbance. And this being the site.
No,
Anything else?
no, it's
I just
existing
flip through the rest of the pages.
Yeah, I think that's, as you said, it's an existing area and expansion of the already approved plan.
Yeah, they're gonna have some transformer cubicles and, structures so that what the guys go out and work on, training.
Good. Anybody else that has any comments, please raise them, otherwise we'll move on.
If you're raising your hand, we can't see you because we're sharing the screen right I hope I'm sharing the screen. Am I sharing the screen, guys? Are you seeing this? You weren't seeing.
You weren't- Oh, no.
No,
Oh, that, you
Yeah,
weren't seeing it.
There's
Okay,
Nothing to see anyway.
so this is the erosion blanket around the site. These will be some structures and drives through. I'll just run through it one real quick, one more time, what I just said. These are gonna be some of the station structures, a transformer cubicle, the structures kind of shed-like as well. And again, they have some detention underground that they provided in their report. Anybody need me to zoom in a little differently or anything else, just let me know. I'm sorry, and if I fail to share the screen again when I think I'm sharing, give me a heads up.
I know, it's awfully quiet.
If only I'd known, I'm sorry.
Okay. No comments.
Okay,
Fuller Way, similar thing.
Let's try to get to. This is Fuller Way. Fuller Way is where, so if you go down Woodlawn Road, for any of you who may or may not be familiar with all our industrial streets. Woodlawn off of Webster Square Road, if you get to the intersection with Webster Square, you go to the west on Woodlawn, and Fuller Way is down on the right. It's a dead end again in the industrial area. And this building is the last building on the right, which was Premier Limousine. So, there, it's an existing industrial building with considerable parking and drives. They had limousine parking out front. This had been expanded back here into parking as well. There is a wetlands border back here. Staff has met with them on several occasions prior to their this new occupant applying. They are looking to manufacture using food waste to make feed and foods. Kind of an innovative product, manufacturing product. With that, they are proposing improvements to the site, which will include some restoration to areas that were previously disturbed without approvals, changing some of the flow back here to actually sanction the driveway and the connectivity they have from the back driveway around to the side, but will also include, I want to make sure I have the right screen up, some this is the demolition plan, go to the next one. Replant and add some green surfaces. So they currently are fairly maxed out with their impervious surface and green ratio, and they're looking to come into compliance with this application. I believe they were exempted from needing to go to wetlands, but as I said, we've had staff reviews and the wetlands agent, Jim Horval, has been in on those meetings and will be advising them if they need any. But I believe they were exempted from that, because the wetlands are back here and they're far enough off for their disturbance.
Carl.
Hi, this is an interesting a place because it's directly adjacent to a passive recreation area called Sportsman's Pond, which we own, which is conservation land, and that can never get any use because it's locked. It's like in some weird wetlands. So the best way to get there is to go behind one of the businesses on Woodlawn. And so, I would be in favor of asking this business if they would be willing to talk about, and I'm not sure this is even possible, right? But like my kid likes going fishing, and he likes fishing at Sportsman's Pond. He puts on some rubber boots and he goes fishing there, but he can never figure out where to go. Right? You can go behind that car wash, or you can go somewhere else. He knows somebody who has another business there. But see Sportsman's Pond there?
Yeah.
That used to be right, exactly. I would think very kindly, so they're not improving any, increasing any impervious surface. They're trying to do the right thing. Can we say something to them like, hey, can you put a couple of parking spaces aside, or you could not call the cops when somebody wants to use that? See that pond right there? That's Sportsman's Pond, and it's, by the way, been a fish and game club since the 1930s, and it was passed to us. I don't know how. It's an old brickyard. The south part is an old brickyard pond. That north node, whatever it is, you can't see what I'm seeing, but the north part of what you're seeing was the old Berlin's. Yeah, right, exactly. So we've always struggled with access to that place. So just throwing it out there, folks. And we've been talking about this, by the way, right, Michael, for 15 years, I think.
And we also
I don't know if
recently
that
talked about, that's a great idea, Carl, because I think we should ask for that, because we also were talking about, because it's all controlled by water control company adjacent to it. And we were talking about that development on the Berlin Turnpike and getting access through that as well. No,
Right. I think it'd be it'd be a weird synergistic thing that we could do. Or at least I'm just throwing it out there. You know what I mean? It's like, can we just say that you can park there and go fishing? Sportsman's Pond would be really, really cool, man.
So I would like to, and I don't know who was at what meeting, I believe the Conservation Commission, though, a number of months ago, did talk about some connectivity and access and what endorsing the staff looking into possibilities for this parcel and access to the parcel. We also had the discussion with regard to, so this parcel up here, or these couple of parcels up here, is what was just approved for a mixed use development, with most of the development up here, but there'll be a passive recreation area here with parking to get to it. We are expecting an application from this area here. They've gone to wetlands, and P&Z has not seen the proposal yet. And that we do have, there are some existing trails here, but how to create connectivity. So staff has been discussing whether we'll go the route of a consultant, or in what manner study access to this parcel and feasibility.
Right, but we never talked about 76 Fuller Way, so I think if you could add the comments there from us to your P&Z, if we can have access, not only maybe, actually a couple of parking spaces and, a pathway or something into the back, into the pond area.
Or at least like an understanding that you're not going to call the cops if somebody parks there, because a lot of these places are, heavily posted when they're right next to brickyard ponds, because people tend to go fishing, right? And there's some liability involved, but that's a public place, so that's what
I've seen a map, and I'm surprised. I don't think I can get it on here. But I think there is an easement that's somewhere off of Fuller Way to access that parcel. I'll look into it again.
There's that easement. I'm sorry, Maureen. There is that easement off of Woodlawn Road, and I've walked at it, and it's impossible to walk it. Yeah, right. You can't walk it. I mean, that's like.
It appears to be owned by the town as opposed to an easement.
I see. Yeah.
I recall seeing some discussion with regard to an easement, so I'll also look to see what that
Yeah, and I'll just restate that we've been talking about access to this parcel. It's not a beautiful place. It's not like desirable, but it, it is a place where people can go fishing. And we're talking about, opening up access to these public places. So if we could, because I didn't think there was an easement. I can't remember if there was, but I'm going to stop talking about it, but it would be nice if these people could just not call the police if somebody goes, parking on their property.
Well, that's the first formal request would be, if they want, maybe be a good neighbor too. Or you remember years ago, we talked about the project to map all the easements and.
We're getting there. We've got some mapping projects.
I
going.
just wanted to say.
We got some mapping projects going.
We talked about.
Jim and I talked to the map guys, so as much as we can.
All right, that's an excellent suggestion, Carl, thanks. Yeah, that doesn't show the easements unless the white strip on the left.
No, I couldn't pull up an easement line, and that's why I'm now worried that there's not one, but sometimes they show, sometimes they don't.
Thank you. All right,
It's a matter of when the map got filed and it got merged.
is that it for plans, Maureen?
Let me go back to the agenda.
Yeah, that was the last one that you had.
It was?
Yep. Yeah. I had one a question about signs, Maureen. A couple of months back, we talked about near the Hatchery Brook Garden area. There was a pump where the old, I forgot what they called it, but the old structure there. That we were concerned about fires.
Yeah, so you authorized that purchase. I think we took out the PO for it.
Yeah. months ago.
So I'll double check and check with Jim. He was working with the sign guys and I'm working,
Okay.
with getting POs authorized and whatnot. So let me see the status. Lots of times if I start the paperwork, I don't see the end of it because I'm not the one that goes out. But I'll check.
Hangs them in, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Anything else about the garden that we talked about before?
No, just I think that the coordination with our new garden coordinator is, reiterate myself,
Carol
has been-
Gooden, right?
Carol Gooden. She
Yeah,
seems to be a great communicator. We're getting many less calls from individual gardeners. And she seems to be sharing, mass emails. She is hoping, last time I talked to her, which was a couple of weeks ago, she's hoping to invigorate the gardeners with, work days and things like that to get some enthusiasm about getting the garden back outside of their own individual plots, but to get them involved in the garden as a whole again, which seemed to, fade away over the last few years as they've gone through a transition of different coordinators. We do have an email that is actually, we changed the email, we established an email and then found that a couple of years ago, there must have been an email established for Hatchery Brook Gardens that is actually on a sign posted in front of the garden. So we changed the email address back to that. And she and I think Steve, although he may or may not have been kept on that email once the water issue got done, because our office is the liaison, but that email is now used and it auto populates to my inbox.
So can you also express thanks to not only Fran and yourself for helping out for the whole garden season, but can you also make a note the next time, let Carol know that we're appreciative of her efforts as well.
I sure will.
Thank you. I'm sure Fran's happy to not get those phone calls too, so that's a good thing. Thank you.
She's very good with the gardeners, though.
I know she is.
If there's any issues, the staff that has handled them is de-escalates and
Yes.
resolves problems readily.
Tough gardens, yeah, the garden tours, but
Are all the plots taken?
The last time I checked, there was one small one left. But the gardeners were having discussions about doing something, maybe some pollinators or something like that there as well. So they, I don't think, we had a couple of inquiries. We had at least 2 or 3 inquiries when there were 2 plots left. So I don't know if the last one ended up taken.
Good.
And I'll just throw, as long as we're throwing shout outs, Caitlin in our office, who's the part-time college student that works only a few hours a week, took over the garden court paperwork while Fran was out on medical and did a bang up job. Fran showed her what to do, and she definitely coordinated those spots and gave us a spreadsheet and contact information to share with our new coordinator, which was really nice.
No, well, thanks to Caitlin as well. Thank you. It's good. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up?
I had, when we got the notice of the meeting, had asked how to put something else on the agenda, but I didn't get anything back.
I'm sorry for that. If it was sent to me, I'm sorry.
I didn't see that.
Well, I had sent some, well, I replied a couple times now. First of all, I didn't understand that it was an in-person meeting, and then I did. And then I noticed the mistake in the day and date or whatever, but then
Sorry.
this is maybe, I know it's late, so maybe it's to go on next time. But the article that was in the Berlin Citizen last week about invasive species and the work that different organizations are doing to try to control them on open space land really intrigued me. I've been fighting my own personal battle with garlic mustard this year, and I won. At least this year I won. We'll see what happens next year. But the article was really interesting, and I was wondering if there would be a way to begin, have a committee or a group, maybe the, our own land trust or, whatever, to get people involved. And there's some names in here of people to contact that are the experts. I mean, I only know a couple of invasive species, but they know them all, and to try to go along with on the trails or, any open, you can't do every acre of it. To try to get rid of things like bittersweet and, things like that are so obviously invasive. I know myself walking by Centennial, the second field out had some cedar trees at one time, and they're pretty much dead now because those vines, I call, one of them is a choke vine, but I know that's not the real name. And the other one's the bittersweet. Those vines have basically choked those trees out. And I don't know if by cutting them or getting rid of them, I've wanted to go there and do something, but you don't feel like you have the right to do it, So maybe there's some group, they mentioned, different groups that did it. There could be a Boy Scout thing, or it could be Girl Scouts. They mentioned in that article, so I just didn't know if that might be something we might want to pursue.
I think that's a good idea to look into, because invasives, it's an endless battle, one that you can only hope to keep in check, because we'll never win. But maybe it is something to look into. If there's names in there, maybe they get somebody with the expertise to lead a hike and point out some things or best ways to eradicate it.
Right.
Get the land trust.
Because they did mention there's this one expert that took people on the walk and showed them the things to look for, I guess, So, I mean, there are some names in here. I didn't know, whether I could just,
Want to reach out?
if it's something that the commission would want to pursue, or the Berlin Land Trust, I'd be happy to try to contact a few, or even the person who wrote the article that has all the contact information for those people. I could do that.
Okay.
What does everybody think? I don't know.
Carl, do you hike a lot? Do you know anything about that, or have you heard anything?
So I know it's a big problem, and it's a bigger problem than just cutting stuff off where we hike by it, right? So, I'm concerned as you are with invasives. For me, it's like the myth of Sisyphus, right? If you go up on Tchaikovsky's orchards or the orchards to the south of there, I mean, it's all invasives. It's such a big project. I don't even know how you control it. So I'd be in support of it. I'm just not very optimistic in a place where we had so many, so much old agricultural land that got taken over by invasives, that there's a really easy answer. And I'd have more to say about it if we weren't in a meeting. You know, I'm really not too optimistic. I'd love to hear what somebody said, but I mean, the second field that you're talking about, that was mixed up because of Dieldrin, like what, 15 years ago, and we've got like invasives choking that place. It's just a really difficult thing. It's a really difficult problem.
Mary Catherine.
Should start small. You know, if we started small, one particular place, you know, one particular, especially if it's maybe something that is more popular. I don't know if it should be more popular for hikers or not, or easier to tackle the first one. Like, look at Kensington Gardens.
And Mary Catherine, I'm sorry, Mary Catherine, I'd be happy to have a side conversation about this with you, because I really like what you're saying. It's just, for me, it's like almost like the horses left the barn on some of this stuff. You know what I mean? Autumn olive, bittersweet, multiflora rose. I didn't mean to interrupt you, and I apologize.
No, I'm just saying the Kensington Garden did this small project, and they, you know, and they're very proud of it. And so we could start small somewhere, but again, I don't know. I mean, I know I looked at some of these places, and I'm sure that they're certainly not as expansive as the open space we have in Berlin, but I just really, I kind of think it's important to try to control invasives. I don't know how we can do it without land we have, but I just thought it might be worth, you know, throwing it out there.
I think it's worth looking into, and maybe you can reach out to CFPA and see what their policy is.
Oh, okay.
Because they run across this everywhere, I'm sure.
I can get that contact information from you later.
Yeah, I got it somewhere, but it's also on the website. I
Okay.
think she's the executive director. Yeah.
Right.
Good idea. Thank you.
All right.
Anything else? We hear a motion?
Rob Ramsey, motion to adjourn.
Joe Mazza, second.
Carl.
Sorry, Carl.
Rushing. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, so moved. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night. I'm just gonna announce the time is
Everybody.
8:01, and I'm gonna end the meeting.
All right, see you guys. Have a good night. Have a good day.